Hello, friends. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and whatever and whenever on your time zone you are there. We are back in Visual.net and its ecosystem news and updates. Right now, this second episode, and as promised, I'm delivering this on Saturday. This week, we have very good updates from Microsoft, especially in the Visual Studio land. Now we have a new release of Visual Studio 2022. Yes, it is new, totally new. New in the sense new minor, but it is very last release actually. I'll show you in a minute. And this is also exciting because in this 17.14 release, you will have also the .NET 10 Preview 4. So you will have .NET 10 Preview 4. If you follow my previous episode on news and updates, previously .NET 10 Preview released before Preview 4, it is not yet fully integrated with Visual Studio or within Visual Studio. So right now, if you install this release, the 17.14.0 release, you will have .NET 10 Preview 4. And the next update is also exciting in the sense that, yeah, if you live in US, you should go to the Microsoft Build 2025 conference. It is actually a developer centered conference annually, like you have each year. Previously, it was called, I think if the name is correct, Microsoft PDC, Professional Developer Conference, if I'm not mistaken. And since 2018 or 2019, it is called Microsoft Build, or sometimes it's just called Build. Now in 2025, you will have Build, and it will be on 19th of May. That would be around Pacific time or Eastern time. It's actually the time zone of the state of Washington. You know that Microsoft is in the Redmond and Seattle. Those two cities are in Washington State. So now let's start this news update. I'm Mariawan, and if you want to know me, you'll see on the landing page of my channel or this channel, especially the Visual Studio Indonesia. You'll see that I have put my about page or the about introduction of me. I'm actually focusing on Visual Studio, .NET, and Azure DevOps. But I mean, yeah, not all features of Visual Studio. I'm focusing on the Visual Studio extensibility and the Visual Studio integration with the .NET tools and tooling and also ecosystem, and focusing on .NET itself, including all of the language that runs on top of .NET. That would be usually C Sharp, Visual Basic, and F Sharp. Actually, not just that, but the technologies within the .NET is also my focus, but not all, of course. If you see the logo or icons that I bring here in this news and update screen, there are lots of things. And if you can guess correctly, so the rightmost part is the logo of Aspire. But I'm not going to discuss Aspire on this news and update because Aspire, I think it should be on a specific video on its own, and I'm still working on it. I'm trying to define what would be the best format for having presenting learning .NET Aspire, because I've already discussed .NET Aspire in the previous video series of .NET Weekly. Unfortunately, That was between release of 8.0 to 9.0. We have lots of news. We have lots of nice updates on Aspire. But if you want to have that kind of further or detailed discussion, please give me feedback and comment if you want. But if the requests are not enough, I may have to keep using the current schedule and the current plan, including having regular updates on my Belajar.net series, the learning.net in Indonesian language, as I have right now. Okay, now let's start to discuss, starting with the release of Visual Studio 2022. And it is exciting, but at the same time, you have to be careful and paying attention on some not just features but also bug fixes that comes with the 17.14. Okay, now let's open the browser to show you what are the release notes. Okay, let me go to Microsoft Edge. There you are. You now see Visual Studio 2022 release notes, and this is for 17.14 release. So 17.14 release. It says the main theme of this release is stability and security along with AI improvements for all developers. I think the AI improvement is mostly centered on GitHub Copilot. So to me, it's not quite the main focus. Yeah, I mean, this can be true, but at the same time, to me, it's not really the main focus. I think the main focus here is the refinement of the existing GitHub Copilot. So, yeah, I know GitHub Copilot is an IE, not AI, but it's more like it is AI, but at the same time, it's more like a tool that helps you to increase your productivity when you are, let's say, debugging or you are developing apps that is supported by GitHub Copilot, of course, because not all kinds of apps that is provided by Visual Studio or supported by Visual Studio is supported by GitHub Copilot. Of course, .NET is supported by GitHub Copilot, but the other kinds of apps, let's say if you want to know, does GitHub Copilot support Go? No. And yeah, Go is not also not supported by Visual Studio. But if you want to know other things that already runs on top of Visual Studio or supported by Visual Studio, such as Python, yes, you can have support for GitHub Copilot on Python for Visual Studio, but not all kinds of Python. For example, if you want to have support for Iron Python, Iron Python is some kind of Python's flavor, uh, one of the flavor of Python that is able to support .NET. It can run on top of .NET actually, but at the same time, it has some kind of unfortunate fact that the development of Iron Python is not quite, what is the term for that? Not quite good, in a sense that the pace or the progress of the development of Iron Python is not really keeping up with the progress of the .NET itself. So you will see that I think 2 years ago they they say that it provides support for .NET, but most of the compatibility are for .NET 5. Right now we are going to have .NET 10. As I already mentioned that we have a .NET 10 preview 4 and we have .NET 9 release. So I think you should stick on using Python instead of Iron Python. But let me know if you have way to use the newer .NET 9 on top of Iron Python, for example? Or let me know if you have used or have some experience on using Iron Python with the other release of .NET such as .NET 8 or .NET 7. To me, it's also important to know because honestly, last time I used Iron Python when I was dealing with the .NET Framework 4.7 and 4.8. After that, uh, I don't use Iron Python anymore. So let's discuss each of the new features within the 17.14. So you have here GitHub Copilot. Again, this is not a new one. GitHub Copilot is already there in the 17.13. So you should call this GitHub Copilot enhancement or refinement or whatever. It's not actually new. So we have the Copilot agent mode, or sometimes it is also called agentic AI. So it's more like a having AI assisted or AI assistant, but you have it as an agent, meaning that that agent will always live on your development session, and it is set here is autonomous. So by the time you are still developing, sometimes it can scan your whole project and try to what is the term for that? It tries to heuristically analyze, including I mean this is not just relevant files and proposed coaches, but also it can try to understand the semantic and the whole purpose of your project. Especially, let's say if you are creating unit tests for ASP.NET, for example, then it can try to understand it first and try to get the semantic and tries to summarize that. Okay, let's say this ASP.NET unit test is for testing the API or for testing the other things such as maybe middleware or maybe something else. It tries to understand that and it can provide further code suggestions, and it can also change your code based on the suggestion that GitHub Copilot provide. So it is smarter than before, but at the same time, I have to warn, give some. I think this is more like a friendly warning that not all the code suggestions are okay. You have to verify it first. You have to also test it first, and it can sometimes hallucinate. So if you follow the AI progress and if you learn the AI assistant, especially to provide assistance for code or development, you'll see that sometimes the suggestions are not valid. There is also the same problem with the chat GPT, for example, or with the previous development or general development on the AI world. Sometimes you will see answer, you will have an answer that is not correct. It may be correct in the sense that when it has some understanding, but then you have to tell the prompt or you have to tell the agent, for example, in the sense to provide a specialized or focus or more like a on topic answer. So in many cases, you still have to provide more specific prompt in order for GitHub Copilot to provide the best answer for your needs or for your own current needs. That is totally different if you ask Copilot for 1 to 5 lines of code. That would be nice because it is a good sample of you provide the question in the forms of code, and it is not complex code. Then you will have a maybe 70 to 80% best answers for your own needs. But that is my own experience. Let me know if you have a different experience. Because to me, I know it is not perfect, but in some small cases, especially the simple cases, it is quite nice. If you follow my videos before, some of the suggestions are coming from Copilot actually. So it is more clever than the existing IntelliCode. But just for your information, IntelliCode is available for Visual Studio Professional and above. It is not available for the community. I think I don't know. Maybe in this 2022 they decided to downgrade that requirement. So in Visual Studio community you will have that. Honestly, I cannot remember on top of my head. But if it's not, you can leverage this GitHub Copilot. You can do that. So you will have this kind of screen that if you enable the GitHub Copilot, you'll see that it has two kinds of mode. One is just simply ask, the prompt engineering, and then in the agent mode. So you you tell Copilot, okay, you can provide not just suggestion but also code applying the code changes, and then build, fix bugs, and maybe do some more tests. For example, this is for the 17.14. Right now, I'm not yet updated. I'm not yet updating my Visual Studio. I'm still using 17.13.6. But that is for good reasons. I'll tell you later. But let's continue to discuss these new features. Oh, by the way, yeah, I think this is a good important note. GitHub Copilot is free. It is true as it is said or being told here. No trial, no credit card, just use your GitHub action. But this is slightly misleading. It is not totally free in a sense if you often use it, and you can just use it for many times. There is still a limit on the free model. So let me open Visual Studio. Okay, I'm going to continue with that code, and I'm going to show the welcome page. Hopefully, welcome. Uh, Not here. Getting started. Getting st- no, no, no. It's just okay. Shut up. What's maybe what's new? There you are. Okay. So it is free for 2,000 code completion per month, 50 chat message per month. This kind of 2,000 code completion, maybe it is good, and I think it is enough for me. I don't know about you, but to me it's enough. But for 50 chat messages per month may not be enough for all kinds of common scenarios. So you have to be wise when you are using this, especially if you are using Visual Studio Community Edition. But don't worry about that. Um, I've been I have used Visual Studio without IntelliCode, without Copilot, and to me, I'm also fine. But having GitHub Copilot is also, in some sense, it's better because, like I mentioned before, it can increase your productivity in a sense that you can ask your GitHub Copilot to provide uh, good suggestions. Again, as long as you give the correct questions. So, in a sense, it's more like a little bit two-way communication. In order to get the best solution for your problem, you need to give the best problem description or the best, what is the term for that? The best, more like, yeah, not just the best description, but also specific questions with the correct context. Let's say, I'll give you a silly example. You cannot ask GitHub Copilot if you are currently working on .NET project, but if your question is more like how to do this in Ruby, for example, or in Python, you will not get the best answers. Even if you are still within the context of .NET, you still have to, you know, give more specificity. For example, if you are currently developing an ASP.NET app, but you are asking about WPF, that would be not a good question because you are now dealing with WPF project. You should not, sorry, you are not dealing with ASP.NET project, so you should not anything about other than ASP.NET. Even for ASP.NET Core, you still have to put more specificity. For example, if you are currently developing ASP.NET Core Web API, then you should not ask about the view in the MVC, for example. There is a it is still in the realm of the ASP.NET Core, but it is not yet more specific, so it will not give you the best answer. That's it. If you want to know more about the prompt engineering, please comment, give feedback, and if I've got enough requests, I'll try to create a 2 to 3 episode about prompt engineering. It is basically how to ask the correct way, how to ensure that you get the best solution, you get the best answer based on your how you write your questions. So that is the main problem. So there is no like a single hammer for all kinds of nails. So you cannot assume that I if I ask this then it can solve all of my problems. So this code assistant is not working like that. But actually, if you follow the external ecosystem outside Microsoft, the code assistant is not just this GitHub Copilot. You'll see that there are other kinds of assistant like uh, the one from Alibaba, for example. And also there is a code assistant from ByteDance. ByteDance is actually the company that you know give you TikTok apps. But yeah, so that would be a way to inform you that you have to be paying attention on what you are going to ask in order to get the best solution that you need. Okay, so let's continue. Now go back to this one. Some of the feature in the 17.14 they say it is in preview. Again, I'm not currently installing 17.14 yet. Let me know if you find difference. They say it's in preview, it may be released. So we will see. Then the next one is GPT 4.0. So there is new support for OpenAI GPT 4.0 model. So this is one of the AI model. You can choose for GPT 4.0 mini. And it says here it has been trained on over 2075, sorry, 275,000 high quality public repositories across more than 30 popular programming languages. Okay. Yes, in terms of the support, The OpenAI has the largest support for almost all of the programming language. That is not just C Sharp, Visual Basic, or F Sharp, but also other kinds of language such as sorry, I think Visual Basic has limited support. So there are other languages such as C++, Python, PHP, even PHP. So there is also Ruby and not just C++, but also C language, the old C, and many things. I think it also has support for PowerShell. It's been there for more than a year, and many more. Yeah, you should look on the OpenAI webpage. I'm not going to discuss in this video. So next one is next edit suggestion. It is also abbreviated as NES or NES. We are excited to announce next edit suggestion or NES or short. Next for short, it is now available in Visual Studio to further improve your coding experience. Yes, of course, it will improve. So it's after you write some code, you just press tab, and then it gives you the next suggestions. Basically, to me, I may sound like a old grumpy guy, but again, I'm not used to this NES. Maybe I'll try to dig further, but as far as I know, sometimes the suggestion is confusing to me. Please use it if you want to try. This feature is also available in the community edition, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, the next one is so this is a sample of NES refactoring not just on C Sharp but also on C++, which is good. Next one is the debugging and diagnostic. So there is a new debugger for the .NET MAUI app. It says here new mono debug engine for the .NET MAUI integrated into the Visual Studio Core debugger. So originally, if you want to debug .NET MAUI and you target the app for mono, previously it is not fully integrated. Now it is integrated. I haven't used this kind of feature yet, not just for 17.14, but also even in the 17.13 because I'm not fully understand .NET MAUI yet. Honestly, that is my current state. I'm still learning .NET MAUI. But let me know if you have some kind of interesting use or interesting scenarios for .NET MAUI. Then you have show data types or link expression. So you'll see that the image is too small. Okay, let me open new tab. There you are. Okay, it says here where and order by descending. Okay, you'll see that this new button analyze with Copilot. Cool. And then zero length array allocation inside. I think this is a good one because it can give you a way to not just check but also a way to identify and optimize memory use. But the optimization is actually you can check whether the allocation is significant or not, or maybe you can then further optimize. Let's say you can minimize the allocation or you can also remove the allocation. Like for example, in the case of span, only span, you can say it is zero allocation. And well, actually, there is an allocation, but not in the heap because span read only span is struct. All struct is allocated on stack unless or if the struct is referenced within a class. But if you define the struct with the some keywords such as ref struct, you cannot reference that struct inside a class. You have to reference that struct inside another struct. I mean, it is not related to whether they are read-only or not. So all ref struct force you to always reference the struct within another struct. You cannot reference that struct inside a class. So it is guaranteed to always be allocated in a stack. That's the simple explanation you'll see and in the documentation, but also you can see on my previous videos about that, especially on the Belajar.net. And then the next new feature is Git tooling, view ongoing incoming commits. I think I have already have this. Yeah, maybe the screen is better because previously you can already see the incoming and outgoing, but yeah, I think the separation of which one is the incoming commit and which one is the outgoing commits. Yeah, this is a good one, but previous in the previous version is you already can see this. Then restore the Git repository window, default branch name. Yeah, this is a nice addition. You can customize the default branch name. Okay, the next group of features is enhanced NuGet authentication, multi-factor, blah blah blah. Yeah, this is nice, but it is a little bit hard to test or hard to use because as long as if your NuGet package is hosted on your own server, or you could just use the NuGet from NuGet.org, you don't need any kinds of authentication actually. But if you publish NuGet package on your own Azure DevOps feeds, either on premise or on cloud, then you have to set up a authentication for that kind of NuGet feed. You can use the Azure DevOps PAT. Oh, I forgot the abbreviation, especially a personal token. Or you can use authentication based on the Azure authentication. It's actually almost the same as Active Directory, but you are federated using open, not open, sorry, OAuth, the OAuth and OpenID Connect. So basically, it's it will provide you better authentication. So they said here, you also can check for MFA. Yeah. I don't know which kind of MFA. It can be other kinds of MFA or it can be FIDO. You know, when you have to install Authenticator app on your mobile device, that kind of authentication. So we will see. Honestly, I don't have enough experience on this one, but I think if they say no get now provide context when asking you to provide credential, this is a good one. Previously, we don't have this, and so we have rename, some kind of feature rename. If you install Visual Studio with the Themes Toolkit, now in 17.14 it is renamed to Microsoft 365 Agents Toolkit. That means it will not just support Microsoft Teams but also broader range of platforms and project types within the 365 ecosystem. So now it can support Microsoft 365 Copilot, Teams, Office Family, and Outlook. Yeah, I think It is further explanation. It's a complete one, but I don't know. I never used this before. Next one is declarative agent, still within the Microsoft 365. And the next one is also upgrade to .NET 9. So this Microsoft 365 Agent Toolkit now support .NET 9. It's a good thing because, yeah, this year we will have .NET 10 on November 2025. And next year, .NET 8 will be out of support because it will have a 3 years, yeah, 3 years support. You see that it is LTS, long term. And yeah, it will end in 2026 for .NET 8. Next one is desktop toolbox. Toolbox support 32-bit assembly, and this is maybe a little bit confusing, but I think it's a very good new feature. You know that Visual Studio 2022 is 64-bit, right? 64-bit means all of the components of within Visual Studio, in order to function correctly and integrate nicely within the shell of Visual Studio, it should be 64-bit, right? But at the same time, we all know that .NET Framework, especially if you use Visual Studio before 2022, all of the designer of WinForms, WPF, and maybe some other kinds of projects such as web forms, for example, those are still using 32-bit. And if Microsoft is going to migrate all of those into 64-bit, that would be not a good step or not a good action, because all of the controls such as WinForms button labels and so on, so on, so on. Even you can just see only the icons, but that control is actually implemented in a 32-bit space. It is not 64-bit. There is no good ecosystem that provides you with 64-bit control. We are not yet going there fully. So you still have a 32-bit, but at the same time, Visual Studio needs to know how to support that. Right now, it is now using WinForms out of Process Designer, and it says here support and enhance experience by automatically discovering and displaying controls present in standalone assembly reference, also known as explicit. So if you have a especially custom control or maybe third-party controls, you can now ensure that it can be discovered by the WinForms designer. Yeah, you should read the details on the blog post right here. I'm not going to discuss all of this, but you can read on your own. I will provide the link to this article or this blog. Toolbox support for explicit assembly references in WinForms Auto Process Designer. Okay, now let's discuss the other features. Accessibility, yeah, you can read on your own. I'm not going to discuss this further because it's a little bit more technical. Unless if you are also extension designer, and please give feedback or comment. I was as an extension developer myself. Previously, I create a small additional menu item for me to add some code that always check the validity of a datetime. But now, yeah, I'm not going to continue that because the datetime support in .NET since .NET 6 and later, especially .NET 9, is getting better. You'll see that we have date only, we have time, not time, time only, date only, time only, and so on. So yeah, I decided not to continue the development of my Visual Studio extensions. Now you have a faster Visual Studio extension build, which is nice. I haven't tried this. Maybe I'm going to try this. So now we have SDK style of SSDT. Any SQL project, this is not specific, it should be any SQL server or SQL server projects. It is now using SDK project. You have to be careful on using this kind of feature. The SDK project, it is supported nicely in .NET Core 2.0, but the real customization and the ease of debugging your own custom SDK, it is provided correctly in .NET 5, because in .NET 5 you can also provide support for the TFM with the OS. If you remember that, if you create WinForms, you will have let's say .NET 9.0-Windows. If you create WPF, you have the TFM .NET 9.0-Windows. If you create app for Android, you will have .NET 9.0-Android. That is also for the other kinds of platform like tvOS or maybe macOS, iOS. Yeah, I know it is a little bit hard to understand, but we have to get used to it. So yeah, that's for, and the next one is for the C++. You get the optimize debugging. This is also nice. Previously, this kind of feature only available in .NET for VB and C#. Right now we have in the C++. So this will provide you some way to ease the debugging for C++, especially if you are going to debug the other DLL. You have the option to use the unoptimized or the optimized. So this is a good thing, and also some bug fixes. Now I'm going to mention why I'm not having the 17.14 right now, because 17.14 has some problems, and as far as I know, there is a single bug not yet integrated nicely within 17.14. So I'll show you which bug. Okay, let me see. This one. Creating new class ignore namespace, and I'll give you the link, but basically the bug is there is a difference in 17.14. So this is fixed in 17.13.4. Before that, it is still buggy. So for example, before updating 17.13, I create new solution with class library project, remove the class1.cs, and the new class is called pre-update and get the following namespace, and then internal class blah blah blah. This namespace is scoped within this file. Any classes after this namespace will use this namespace. But after upgraded to 17.13, now the model is using the old one. This is the legacy one. If you code your app using .NET Framework, you will also have this kind of format or model. And this kind of difference is also confusing, and it can be seen as annoying because it changed the way you develop by default. So this is fixed on 17.20.4, but may not be fixed on 17.14, the one that just released. I think this is making sense in a sense that this is related to the tooling for the C# itself. Like when you are creating a new class, right? Or you are creating there's this other guy can explain that I grew up with all default setting at new class. Yeah, they have a different one. And the hang on, implicit using implicit. Yeah, and the project content is the same, but the resulting compilation between the 17.12 and 17.13 is totally different, and this is start to become a problem. Yeah, it says here 17.14 review has been fixed in a spec in a fix of this issue. You see, there is this confirmation. No, I have tried everything, so I have to check again. .NET, not .NET, C# compiler for .NET is actually not part of Visual Studio directly, in a sense that you will have .NET part of your installation, but the development itself is a different team within the Visual Studio team. So this kind of bug has a possibility of being regressed in the newer version of the .NET, because it is not just open source, but also when there is a new feature is introduced, they may regress this bug. So yeah, we'll see. I'll let you know if I have tried and tested 17.14 thoroughly, and I also have my own confusing issue here. So on my Visual Studio, you will see 17.13.7. But if you look at the Visual Studio installer, you will see 17.14. There is another but. If you click on the 17.13.7 notification inside my current Visual Studio, it says here it will suggest you to have 17.13.7. The strange thing about this 17.13.7 release note is actually hidden. Why is that? So let me see. Okay, release notes. Let's see this release note. There should be a previous release note or something. Let me see. So if I go up here, no. What is the previous? Oh, okay. Release and build history. So we have release history, and let's see 17.13 release notes. There you are. Visual 2022 release note V1713. Unfortunately, this web page is not available in this table of contents. So yeah, this is not nice. 17.13.7, the fix for 17.7. Actually, this one, but as far as I know, I have tried this, and some people say it is fixed, other people say it is not fixed, and to me, it's not fixed. So I need to test further. So this is why I'm not going to install 17.14 for now. But for your common or general scenario, it is okay. So you should be safe to use, safe to update your Visual Studio. Okay, the next one is the .NET 10 Preview 4. Okay, the .NET 10 Preview 4. Which one? Which one? Which one? .NET 10. So this is the landing page of devblocks of .NET. I'm going to open this .NET PV4. .NET 10 PV4 is available, and this is, and you have minimum list. Okay, let's just open the actual repo. You will have here release notes from this. Okay, see with me, and you will have this one, and you have each release note for each of the component, like release note in .NET PCL or libraries, release note in the runtime, release in the SDK on the C#. We will have C# 14 on .NET 10. We will have ASP.NET Core 10, .NET MAUI for .NET 10, EF in .NET 10, EF Core 10, Vim Forms, WPF, and so on, so on, so on. I think they should list a release note for F#. It seems they are not listing it. Yes, it should be, yeah. But yeah, maybe I need to ask them. So read your own. For example, if we want to know what's new in .NET SDK for .NET 10, just open this. Okay, opening this will open the Microsoft Learn page. Yeah, they should put it on this file. Okay, what's new in the SDK and tooling? And we have a pruning of the developer provided package reference, more consistent. Yeah, we have now .NET package add, .NET package list. Yeah, this is a better one. If you use .NET add package, it is a bit confusing. If you have .NET package add, it is clearer. And support for Microsoft Testing Platform. This is a new one, Microsoft Testing Platform. Not that very new, but it is new one even before my news and updates. You see, it is in 7th May. Yeah, so this is a new one. The nice thing about Microsoft Testing Platform here is cross-platform, and it will replace VS Test maybe. You still need VS Test for testing the .NET Framework unit test. Uh, Especially if you have the legacy code of MS Test. But if you use XUnit, NUnit, and the modern version of the MS Test, you can just use Microsoft Testing Platform because it is smaller, lightweight, and in some sense is faster. And there's also nice features like deterministic runtime transparency, compile time, registration, extension, and so on, so on, so on. You can read this on your own. Okay. Now, oh, many features. I have done discussing the .NET 10, and then on 19th of May we'll have Microsoft Build conference. Okay, let me open. Where is Build? Build. Where is that? No, not here. Okay, here. So Microsoft, this is my screen. I have registered. So yeah, you can also arrange or check the sessions. So, let's see. Schedule is loading. Find sessions. If you open this, you will have a list of sessions for each date. So this is shown in my time zone, UTC +7. But if you are living in US, it will be showing different thing. It says here it start on Monday 19, but on Monday 19, the session is just, if you view this on your US time zone, you will see more of this. because Monday 19 here is late night on my time zone. You see, 10:47 p.m. So yeah, you should if you have some time, you should try to follow some sessions. The session is very nice, and you have Azure AI, Copilot Studio, Power Platform, and DevOps. You have Azure Applications, App Modernization, and if you want to have some specific needs, you can also filter it. For example, you could have only care about, let's say, C Sharp or JavaScript. Then you can also filter based on the yeah this one is my favorite one, developer tools and .NET. So it will only show focusing on developer tools and .NET. That developer tools also include Visual Studio tooling, of course. So explore generative AI, agentic AI, Docker, GitHub, prototype, build and deploy apps quickly with GitHub models. Damien Ready, this guy previously, I think if I'm not mistaken, he was a program manager at Microsoft. Now he is at GitHub, but GitHub and Microsoft is the same because GitHub is under Microsoft right now. So yeah, you still have the same support actually. You can see in that way. Integrating enhanced application with .NET Inspire. So this is nice. But unfortunately, the schedule is somehow a bit conflicting with my presentation on 20th of May in Bahasa. I will speak at Microsoft Reactor. Let's get technical in Indonesia. So I will bring presentation for info terbaru means this latest information or latest updates on .NET SPA 9.2. Untuk pengembangan aplikasi secara cepat means to develop your app in a rapid way or not quick. In the sense, this cepat means in a rapid way. Of course, I'm not going to give you a shortcut, presentation. I'm just saying that if you want to have a .NET Aspire as part of your tools to leverage, you will have a way to integrate nicely about logging, telemetry, and so on, so on. Even you can have your own dashboard. As we already know on .NET Aspire, so yeah, feel free to catch me. I think they will provide a English translation, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I just want to inform you that I will speak at this date. But yeah, this actually is not conflicting with Microsoft Build. Maybe I will have a less sleep because all of those presentations on Microsoft Build are not in my friendly time zone. But fine, you will have the replay or you will have the recorded videos. Usually, you will have this after 10 hours or a day. But if you can wait more, 2 to 3 days later, you will see some of these videos on YouTube, especially on the Visual Studio channel on YouTube. So you should not worry about this. Okay, now I bring you all of the updates. Visual Studio, .NET 10, Preview 4, and Microsoft Build. That should brings you the next question. What will we have after 17.14? And actually, you can have a educated guess. If you look at some repos on .NET, okay, let me open this one and let's go to, for example, Roslyn maybe. So Roslyn is basically a open source compiler for C# and VB. This repo will give you the C# 14 and the VB 10 or VB 11, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the source code of that compiler. And if you look at the branches, let's say I'm going to release. You see that these are the release. You see that def 17.14, 17.13, and so on, so on, so on. And you will not see 17.15. So let's see, and the tag. This is not easy to see. But okay, we have 7.11, 12, 13, 17.4. Oh, they don't have the release. Okay, yeah, but on the branches you have a 17.14. Yeah, 17.14. Will there be 17.15? I don't think so. But that brings me another question. Will that bring the next version of Visual Studio? I mean the major one? Maybe. Maybe we'll have a next version of Visual Studio 2022. I mean the next major version after that. It can be Visual Studio 2025 or 2026. I don't know yet. But you'll see that, yeah, you can have an educated guess. Not just Roslyn. For example, if you go to the F sharp, F sharp, this is the home repo for the F sharp compiler and also F sharp tooling support. Then you will see that, yeah, 17.74, 17.5, 17.9. Yeah, there should be 17.12. I don't know. We will see. Release def 17. Oh, def 10. Okay. Patch. Kevin, some. Look fast. Let's see. 17. Release V17. No? Now it is harder to see. 2020, 2022. 13.9.3 beta F sub compiler. Yeah. Usually I can see, but not in here. Right now, I cannot see it. Let me know if you have some educated guess. Will it be a new major version of Visual Studio? We don't know yet. But let's just enjoy the current Visual Studio that we have now. And you could try the 17.14 and let me know if you have some strange experience or nice experience, whatever, as long as it is related to Visual Studio 17.14.0 release. Okay, I'll see you in the next news and updates. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy, if you already subscribed. And I'd say thank you. And we'll see you again in news updates 2 weeks after this. So this is always be delivered each 2 weeks or every 2 weeks on Saturday. Again, coding is happiness. And see you. Bye bye.